potential trade that would seem to make sense for the Mets. And the name on that list right now is Luis Castillo of the Cincinnati Reds. Jim, what do you think? What would a package look like for Castillo for the Mets?
Well, listen, I think first off with Castillo, let's take a look at what he is. I mean, he's a number two, at least number two type starter. He's been Cincinnati's number one starter for a long time. Now, he had a slow start this past year in 2021. You see his ERA into the first week of June there, 6.63, and then he really turned it around, figured out the command of his fastball, changed the grip on the slider, saw a 2.78 ERA down the stretch over 21 starts. I think that's the type of guy that he is moving forward. Now, he only has 2 years left. And he's not going to make a ton of money. He's about $8 million. So here's an idea. Now, I don't think the Mets need to trade for Castillo, but if I were, I would limit it to Jeff McNeil, who, you know, we're not quite sure where he fits in on the roster, and one of the lesser prospects like a Mark Vientos, who has over 20 home runs this past year, but you have Beatty ahead of him. You've got Mauricio, who you like better. So there's some depth there, but I would really limit it there. I don't know if there's enough there to get Castillo with just those two guys, but I don't think you need to go out and make a huge trade at the moment. I think there's enough there. That might be a trade that you revisit at the trade deadline.
All right, Andy, what are you hearing about the Mets and their pursuit of high-end starting pitching? Do you believe that's going to be high on their radar when the lockout comes to an end?
I do. I'd also like to say that I'm old enough to remember when Luis Castillo was a very bad name around the Mets. I find it amusing to come around in a very different person. Yes. Flies, what's next? We're going to trade for a slugger named Ali Perez. Now, look, I definitely think that they're looking to augment the rotation. They were willing to pay Kevin Gausman and Max Scherzer. That was the plan in that weekend where they ended up just getting Scherzer. So while they're willing to throw money at the problem, there aren't as many high-end options or any high-end options that's still in the free agent market anymore. So you might have to go the trade route. And if you can get away with that trade that Jim proposed, that's a slam dunk for the Mets, for sure.
I think that's a good trade. I think you're right, Andy. I do think that there is never enough starting pitching. I think Luis Castillo is a guy that would fit in well in this rotation. I've always liked his stuff. I put up a lot of innings. And I think McNeil's due for a bounce-back year. I wouldn't want to trade Jeff, but I do think going to Cincinnati might not feel that do-or-die every swing and may just go off in a place like Cincinnati. So I do think it could be a good move for both teams, but I definitely think the Mets should get a little bit more starting pitching before this thing starts.